Hello all, old geek, and let's have another look at some magazines. Let's have a look at this lovely May 1978 edition of The Dragon, Volume 2, Number 8, still $1.50. The Dragon, the magazine of fantasy, swords and sorcery, and science fiction gaming. Yes, because in gaming terms, fantasy is its own genre. Doesn't have the same dictionary definition. Right, sci-fi cover. It's not a bad cover though. It's certainly more attractive than a lot of other Dragon covers. So I mean, I don't know what that little is it landing or is it springing up? I don't know what it's doing. And oh, there's a demonic thing down there. I've no idea what they're on about. But hey ho, it's quite appealing. But it looks very sci-fi-ish. So would it encourage me to buy it? Not sure. Okay, The Dragon in Orbit, Space Marines, robot players in MA. I'll find out what that is in a moment. Lycanthropy in D&D. Maybe that'll be of interest to me. But I can see myself flicking through quite a lot of this issue because I'm not a fan of sci-fi, as I've said so many times in the past. And look, well, Partha have got in on the sci-fi thing with Galactic Grenadiers. Is the whole issue going to be sci-fi? Origins 78. Is it because Gamma World is coming out around now? Is that what it is? Let's push. Oh, is this new? This contents thing, is it new? Right, features. Lycanthropy, the progress of the disease. That would interest me. Robots as players in MA. I'll still have to find out what MA is. Reviews: Nomad Gods, Cosmic Encounter, Fantasy Forge, Cthulhu Mythos Revisited. Right, so there is some Cthulhu in here. D&D Sorcerer's Scroll. D&D relationships, the part and the whole. Okay. Dragon Mirth. Excerpt from an interview with a Rust monster, Monty Hall and his friends at play, Wormy and Phineas Fingers. So there's more comedy. Oh. Is it because this is... they were famous for April ones? I've just done an April one. April Fools. This is May. Don't know. They had to sync a little. Right, this issue represents another milestone. It closes out the second publishing year. The Dragon has come a long way in the past 8 issues and promises to go even further in the coming year. Oh, talking about the snits. Okay. Cover was by Steve Oliff. Not familiar with him. Right. The winners of the first Name That Monster contest. There's a change in the layout here with that sort of red thing at the top. They're trying to add a bit more colour to it. It does look a little bit cleaner in terms of the text, but the resultant numbers of entrants in this contest caught us by surprise and posed a heck of a problem in selecting a winner. As with any similar judging, much of it is subjective. A number of us here participated in the evaluation of the entries, but I'll take the blame for the final decision. Right, okay, take the blame. Nearly 100 entries. Lots of people made demons. Yes, at least 20 entries dealt with some new form of demon. Nothing wrong with that. An inordinate number of entries were super powerful entities loaded with too many abilities. Sent in by teenagers, probably. Another dozen or so saw it as a devil. I'd do devils. I like devils. They're sneaky. They're intelligent. More organised than demons. Probably my favourite monsters. as well. Undead are great, but devils, yes. Right. These are the winners. The creature some call Yarnkung. Medium. 5 hit dice. Cursed Crimson Crawler. With a fairly low power monster. The Ulik. Mountainous desert dwelling people. Again, so ogre strength-ish. So if you wanted to win that competition, create a monster that has a range of utility. Nothing too specialist, nothing overpowered. And the winners get some gift certificates. Very nice. Very nice. Space Marines. It's a game called Space Marines. Nothing to do with Warhammer. Not my thing. As we move, we go zooming through it. Right, this guy is looking for a new food source. Are you it? The Pelix, once masters of entire galaxy. More sci-fi stuff. But it looks like it's a game. It's a game. That's an advert. Okay. Oh, it's play by mail. Our fees are $6 initial setup per game and $1.50 per turn. Okay. I used to play some play by mail games in the late 80s when I was playing them, though. I enjoyed them. I did enjoy them. But yeah, this first article is just too long. About 6 pages of sci-fi. Not interested. Sorry. Nomad Gods. What's this? Review. It's from the Chaosium. Designed by Greg Stafford. That's a name I recognise. Set of 5 primitive nomadic tribes that roam an area of the Earth, not necessarily our Earth, that has been blasted by some titanic battles of 2 gods named Ragnaglar and the Stormball. Okay. So he hasn't stolen the name from Ragnarok at all, has he? No, Ragnaglar. So it's like in the future, but Earth has been splattered, sort of thing. Yeah. Cosmic Encounter. That was reviewed in the previous issue. Again, they're going very, very sci-fi, aren't they? Oh, MA is Metamorphosis Alpha. Okay, fine. I should remember that. I've never played it, have I? But we're hitting more sci-fi. Robots as players in Metamorphosis Alpha. Every time I look at my face, yeah, and I know a lot of you are sci-fi fans, and I know I harp on about it. Okay. Excerpt from an interview with a rust monster, translated into common by Michael McCreary. Okay. So I'm guessing this is meant to be a bit of humour, but I'd imagine rust monsters don't really have their own language. And if you encountered them, you might hear the odd as they notice the paladin in shining armour. That basically was Rust Monster for chomp chomp chomp, chomp 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 chomp. Plate mail! Okay. So it's a bit of fiction. Starship models. Fantasy Forge. They're staying with fantasy stuff, though. It's not very nicely done advert, is it? Low quality advert. Very low quality images. And it's probably just a bad scan, but can't really see what they are at all, can you? We're continuing with more of that story. Advert for Archive Miniatures. Not very impressed with this issue so far. Okay. D&D Relationships, the Parts and the Whole. Comments on the state of the game by Gary Gygax. Not a few D&D enthusiasts are puzzled by about what is going on with the game. They're wondering what the new basic set of D&D is. Will the original game be around much longer? And what advanced D&D is? And when it will be available? As briefly as possible, I will attempt to answer all such questions, if we have no desire to confuse DMs and players about what is taking place. When Gygax says briefly, he means use 10 times the required amount of words. So he's basically explaining the differences between the different versions, OD&D, Basic D&D, which is Homes at this point, and the new AD&D, which is coming out around the time of this this issue. Imagine the Player's Handbook would have been coming out. This is early 78, so mid 78. What are we? May 78, so yeah, the middle. Anyone know what month in 1978 the Player's Handbook came out? Because I know the Monster Manual's already out, and it would be another year before we saw the Dungeon Master's Guide. But it does tell you. A few other. Tells you what's coming out. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual was anticipated to be ready prior to Christmas, so maybe even though it says 1977 on its original release, maybe it didn't see the shops until 1978. They're expecting Monster Manual, Gods, Demigods and Heroes, Deities and Demigods as it became. Yeah, it's a new game. In summation, the basic set of D&D is aimed at new players, those persons as yet uninitiated to the wonders of fantasy role-playing. While it channels these new adventurers towards the advanced game with its better ordered and more clear rules, it suits the players for play of the original game just as well. Oh, talking about the basic set having better ordered and more clear rules. Yeah. I've not read the home set, but if it's like any of the other basic sets, yeah, it will be better ordered and more clear. And the advanced D&D rules were as well. Yes. Alright. More Rust Monster, more robots. Monty Hall and his friends at play. I found out about this person called Monty Hall when I came back to the hobby, because I'd never heard of him. It was to do with a game show, I believe, in America. We didn't get that game show over here. But when I came back to about 2012, 2013, started looking up D&D things on the internet and D&D forums, I found the phrase Monty Hall. Google. That's what it's based on. So this is all about having too much, giving too much away. Here, you have 1,000 gold pieces, and you have 1,000 gold pieces, and then everybody ends up with thousands of gold pieces, and don't you all feel great? But suddenly, money isn't special anymore. But we've all done it. We've all done it. So this, I'm guessing this article is talking about that sort of thing, about giving too much away. A little bit of artwork. Hello, a little bit of artwork. Dinosaurs and dragons. Yes, not too bad. The Cthulhu Mythos Revisited. Dear Editor, Being an avid fan of Lovecraft, I was appalled by the article in your February 1978 edition of The Dragon concerning the Cthulhu mythos. Not only have I read Lovecraft, but also August Derleth, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert Bloch, Robert E. Howard, etc., and I am hooked on D&D, so I waited impatiently for any recognition of the mythos, only to be disappointed by a partial list, underrated aliens, namely the Great Race, a new account of Alhazred's death. This is a typical nerd, well, actually type letter. Now we do it on the internet. Somebody posts something and gets it slightly wrong on a forum. It's like, you dive in, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. What's that meme? Honey, you coming to bed? No, I can't. Somebody's wrong on the internet. This is what it was 40 odd years ago. Did it by post. So he's correcting it all, adding a bit more accuracy there. A certain Gerald Gwyn. Sincerely yours, the High Priest of the Great Old Ones, in the service of Nyarlathotep, Gerald Gwyn. This may seem trivial, but if Howard Phillips Lovecraft, Auguste Deleth, and Robert Howard saw your use, they'd roll over in their graves, not once, but at least 10 times. I think when I saw it, I said it needs a little bit more description, but it's a different game. So it's up to the DM to really reinforce the flavour. But if they got things wrong, fair enough. But I just think it's funny seeing a well, actually, from 45 years ago. Grenadier models. It must be the scan because all the adverts in this edition look terrible. The total person in Metamorphosis Alpha. It's some role-playing charts for bringing some background to character creation by the looks of things. Nothing wrong with that, apart from it being sci-fi. Also special abilities. Yeah, okay. Creating random characters. There's nothing wrong with random characters. There's a good random. There was. I don't think it's there anymore. But in the most recent Conan game, that's how I learned how to make characters. I went onto a website which had a character generator, and just clicked through random things, and bloop, it all appears. It's like, oh, now you see how those all link together. Then you read the book, which I still need to do more of. Let's have a look at Wormy. Haroog! After a hand that ugly, I need a beer. Whose deal is it? Haroog! Indeed, Floyd. Let me get one too. Jack, your deal. So Haroog means a humph. Okay, let me see. 5-card stud, 8s and aces, one-eyed faces, deuces, 9s and jokers are wild. 4s and 7s give you an extra card, black queens put you out. What sort of rules are these? It's not 5-card stud really, is it? With Hey Floyd, make that 3 beers. Hot damn, look at this. Hot what? It's a dwarf. Methinks I missed my turn off. Get 'em. Rock eaters, Floyd. Glink, why don't you watch where you're going, bonehead? What the hoof? Okay. They're falling over each other to catch the dwarf. There he goes. Don't let him get near the fireplace. Look out, Floyd. Did you see that? The rock eater ran right up the chimney. Yeah, and Floyd ran right into the mantle. Pour a beer on his face, that should wake him up. And of course, Wormy picks up all the loot from their card table and disappears with it. Because it's a dragon, and dragons like loot. It's a cool dragon as well. Phineas Fingers. Okay, Phineas Fingers. I've lost interest in Phineas Fingers. Prefer Wormy. Alpha, Omega, whatever. whatever that is. An exciting game of tactical space command. Okay. Sci-fi is really, really taking off, isn't it? Right, okay. D&D variant. Lycanthropy, the progress of the disease. What do you do with 8 werebears? Answer, whatever they want. Recently, an encounter involving a group of adventurers in hostile territory were trying to pass as chaotics, and a group of presumed chaotics who turned out to be lawful werebears resulted in one of the surviving adventurers catching the werebear disease. This led to the considerable speculation on the part of other characters regarding the advantages of being able to become a bear invulnerable to ordinary weapons whenever the going got tough. Especially now that there was a friendly lycanthrope, handy to inoculate them at minimum pain and cost. Okay, so it's creating rules for the lycanthropy conditions. I remember in AD&D, I don't know if it's a case in basic D&D at this time or not, but lycanthropy only affected humans. It killed any other race that contracted it. So you, in a mostly human game, yeah, well, maybe, and it's difficult when you've got a lycanthrope in the party, because that character has to always be considered to be a threat. But some lycanthropes are not bad, such as werebears. But there's still going to be that savage inner self, isn't there? I don't know. I prefer that characters who contract lycanthropy end up being NPCs. Only ever had a character become a were something once, and that was a were boar, which is obviously a bit more brutal, and killed a load of innocent people. So they made sure they cured that character. But it's a difficult one with werebears, isn't it? Very difficult. Bit of trampier artwork. Bit more trampier artwork. Yes, werebears are the most usable type of lycanthrope for player characters. Note, non-player werebears are usually lawful and extremely reluctant to contribute to the spread of the disease, sternly disapproving of those who do so. That's a good way of presenting it. Maybe hint to the PC, if PCs want to spread it willingly, maybe just make it clear that a werebear considers it to be a curse, and that it is not doing a good thing by spreading it, and will not do it willingly. You just tell the player that your character will not do this willingly because it is a curse. No matter how much the other players beg, no matter how much the party thinks, oh, we'll be much more powerful. Maybe that's one way of doing it. Bit heavy-handed, but advertising Gen Con 11. More were stuff. That's an article that's worth going back and reading. This levels for a were creature. No, I'm not sure that's needed. Really not sure that's needed. Changes per day. The whole point was changes be enforced at a certain time of the month and when you got really angry in certain situations. I don't like the idea of freely changing unless you really give in to the condition. By that point, you are an NPC. Chance of beast nature predominance. Well, fair enough. Higher, I hope, for the evil ones. Monsters, monsters, and more monsters. Big advert for the Monster Manual. Hurrah! Carrion Crawler artwork. The classic Carrion Crawler. One of DCS's best pieces of art, I think. Yeah, the Monster Manual, great book. Fantasy Trip. That was advertised in the previous issue. And that concludes it. Right. Okay, so I've got a bit of a mixed opinion about this issue. I think this is going to be a fairly short video, isn't it? Because I flipped through so much. There's a lot in this issue that really doesn't have is of no interest to me. But I get that a lot of gamers will like that sort of stuff. There was the letters page. There was no letters page. That's a shame. I suppose that Cthulhu Mythos Revisited was a letter. That was quite funny. And the bits for me as a fantasy player were quite lacking. In fact, very lacking. Obviously not every edition is going to appeal to my tastes. And I like the idea of expanding all the versions of D&D, and certainly that bit about lycanthropy is potentially quite useful, though I think it went a bit too far in giving where creatures levels. So I'm afraid I think I would have wasted my money if I'd have bought this one. Maybe 3 or 4 pages that interest me, primarily a D&D player. Much too much sci-fi. Get the balance right, please, next time. As in 75% D&D, 25% other stuff. Please. Anyway, I've been the Old Geek. That was issue 14 of The Dragon. That one gets a bit of a thumbs down. If you think I'm completely wrong, though, shout about it in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our live streams and come and play some games with us on the Discord. I'm going to be running some Call of Cthulhu in a week or two. And I'd like to make October Cthulhu month, leading up to Halloween. See ya.